Hello everyone, welcome to Simplilearn's YouTube channel. Today we will be discussing about priority queue in data structure. But before we begin, let me tell you guys that we have daily updates on multiple technologies. So if you are a tech geek in a continuous hunt for latest technological advancements, then consider getting subscribed to our YouTube channel and don't forget to hit that bell icon to never miss an update from Simplilearn. Now without any further ado, let's get started with the agenda for today's discussion. We'll start this discussion with introduction to the priority queue. Followed by that, we will understand how we can represent a priority queue. Advancing ahead, we'll deal with different implementation strategies for priority queue. After that, we'll understand what is a heap data structure and what different types of priority queue are available. Followed by that, we'll contemplate different operations in priority queue. Once finished with that, we will implement a priority queue using heap data structure. And finally, we will cover applications of priority queue to understand its importance. I hope I made myself clear with the agenda. Now let's get started with our first topic, Introduction to Priority Queue. Primarily, we will have a look at the real-life example of priority queue to understand it better. A hospital emergency queue is almost an ideal example of priority queue. When you go to the hospital, you must have observed that the person who needs immediate medical attention will be treated first, irrespective of his arrival at the reception. That means treating a person who is in agonizing pain or in emergency medical condition is the priority of the queue of patients. Priority queue in computer science also works with same approach. So what exactly is this priority queue? Well, a priority queue is an abstract data type that operates similar to the normal queue except for the fact every element has certain priority assigned to it. This definition of priority queue suggests that this particular type of queue also follows the same restrictions for insertion and deletion of data elements. The insertion in the priority queue will only be achieved at one end and deletion at another or opposite end. Additionally, the priority of data elements will determine the order of removal. The elements which has higher priority will leave the queue at first, and the elements which has lower priority will definitely leave the queue at last. As a side note, I would like to tell you guys that the priority queue only supports the elements that are comparable. Meaning the data that we are going to insert into priority queue must be orderable. The compiler should not be facing any difficulty while comparing these data elements. Otherwise, the execution of a priority queue will definitely fail. Moving ahead, let's have a look at an example of priority queue. In this priority queue, we will insert 7, 2, 45, 23 and 12 respectively. These elements are not ordered. So how the priority queue is going to store them in order? Well, at the time of insertion, the priority queue conducts a comparison of each element with every other element present inside a queue to store them in order. But as there is no element inside a queue, so the first insertion, that is an element with value 7, will be attained. Followed by that, the next element will be inserted in a queue. Since the newly inserted element is smaller than that of previously inserted element, we'll swap their positions in order to maintain order. Remember, the element with least value will have a higher order and the element with greatest value will have a least priority or order. Now we will insert the next element in a queue, that is 45. As 45 is a larger element than the elements inside the queue, there is no need to shuffle elements. When we make the next insertion, the element 32 will get inserted at index 3. Now this element is smaller than that of 45. So the algorithm will have to swap the locations of these elements. Now we will perform the final insertion into our queue. We will insert 12 at index 4 now. But as you can see, this element is smaller than both the previous elements. Thus the algorithm will have to swap their positions. Now 45 will reach the end of queue as it is the element with highest value, and 2 will remain at the front of queue as it is the least valued element. As a humans, we could see the numbers visually inside the priority queue, and further we can easily arrange them. But how does the machine know this? Does it restore all the elements inside the priority queue before each insertion? No, obviously that would be highly ineffective as there will be n comparisons for insertion of n elements leading to time complexity big O of n square. This is an enormous time complexity which we cannot allow in any software application. We will understand how the priority queue manages to reduce this time complexity in upcoming topics. But right now we will contemplate different properties of a priority queue that we have learned from previous example. The first property of priority queue suggests that each element has a certain priority assigned to it. That priority might depend on value of data element. It can be either larger or smaller. The next property states that element with higher priority will leave the queue at first, where the element with least priority will leave the priority queue at last. Further, if two elements have the same priority, then the element will be removed from the priority queue based on their arrival. That means the element which arrived at first out of the elements having same priority will be removed first. Now, moving ahead, we'll deal with the representation of priority queue using a linked list, as usage of arrays is not an ideal way to implement priority queue. If we consider array implementation of priority queue, then inserting items into the sorted array will cost us big O of n. And in general, processing each element will further cost us big O of n square as discussed previously. So in this tutorial, we'll just look into the linked list representation of priority queue. We will understand the representation of priority queue with the help of an example. Initially, let's say there are three elements inside a linked priority queue and all of them are in order. 3 being the least element has highest priority, where 43 has the least priority. The purpose of keeping 3 at the head node is that we want our priority queue to delete elements according to their priority. Now, we want to insert a new node consisting of data element 2. And as the data element is smaller than the element at head node, that is 3, so this new node should be inserted prior to it. This particular scenario of insertion seems pretty perfect as it does not cost us more time. But what if the element is significantly larger than all the nodes in queue? For instance, let's say we want to insert 45 as a new element. In that case, primarily it will be compared with element 2, and as 45 is larger than 2, our temporary pointer will move to the next node for comparison. Now, 45 will be compared with element 3, and again the temporary pointer will be moved to the next node for comparison. After two comparisons, the temporary pointer has reached element 17 for performing the next comparison. And here also 45 is larger than 17, so the temporary pointer will again move towards the next node. Now finally, our temporary pointer has arrived at the tail node consisting of element 43. Again, in this case, the element 45 is larger than 43, thus the new node will be inserted after node containing data element 43. From this specific example of insertion into a priority queue, we can clearly see that there are n comparisons leading to the time complexity big O of n, where the complexity of deletion remains constant, that is big O of 1. While understanding the representation of priority queue, we came across some facts that make priority queue implementation using linked list quite vulnerable. So here we will again try to recall them. The first drawback of priority queue implementation using linked list is that it costs us big O of n for inserting a new element. Further, it also costs us big O of n for peak operation. And as memory and time management is the purpose of data structure, hence we must try to analyze other implementation strategies. That is why in upcoming slides we'll look into different approaches to implement a priority queue. There are three approaches that implement a priority queue with complexity less than big O of n square. We have already discussed the linked list, so let's also look into other two approaches. Binary heap and binary tree provides almost similar complexities. These approaches cost us big O of log n for insertion and deletion, and big O of 1 for peak operation. But which one of these operations is most optimal approach to implement priority queue? Well, to answer this question, we again need to discuss about memory management in the case of both these data structure. You guys know that binary heap data structure is implemented using arrays, and since it utilizes arrays, there is always a better locality of reference as well as operations become more cache friendly. The binary search tree uses pointer to implement front and rear node, which definitely takes up more space in memory. Due to that, building a self-balancing BST cost us big O of n log n, where binary heap just cost us big O of n. These facts clarify that the binary heap is the base data structure to implement a priority queue. Now you must be thinking about what exactly the heap is and how does it work. So moving forward, we'll look into the definition of heap and its properties. Basically, a heap is a tree-based data structure that satisfies the heap invariant, or in simpler words, heap property. The heap invariant states that if A is a parent node of B, then A is ordered with respect to B for all nodes A and B in heap. What that means is the value of parent node is always greater than or equal to the value of child node in the heap, or other way around, the value of parent node is less than or equal to the value of child node for all nodes in a heap. Further, there are two types of heap named as max heap and minimum heap. First, we will look into max heap. The max heap is heap in which value of parent node is greater than the value of child node. For this particular example of max heap, you can see that the root node is the biggest element in tree and each child node is smaller than its parent node. The next type of heap is minimum heap. The min heap is heap in which the value of parent node is less than the value of child node. In this specific example, you can observe that each child node is larger than its parent node and the element at the root node is smallest element of the heap. Both the structures that we have discussed are binary heaps as every node has only two children. In upcoming slides, we will discuss some complex structures of heap data structure to better understand how we can judge if a tree-like structure is heap or not.
Okay, so you can see a tree-like structure on your screen and we are supposed to check whether if it is a valid heap data structure or not. But actually here I would like you all to give it a try by yourselves. You can also pause this video if you want, but here I will provide you with a short moment to inspect this structure. Alright, I can clearly say that this is not a valid heap data structure. As you can observe, the highlighted part is violating the heap invariant. Moving forward, let's analyze another tree-like data structure to consider if it is a valid heap or not. Well, yes, this is a valid heap because even though this one is strangely structured, we are free to move around the visual representation of nodes to make it organized. Now you all must be thinking how we can do that. Well, we'll understand that scenario in upcoming slides. Now, how about this one? Is this a valid heap? No, right? This is not a valid heap. This structure is not even a tree as it forms a closed cycle and every heap must be a tree. So it's pretty clear that this is not a valid heap. Now, what about this one? Is this a valid heap? Yes, this is a valid heap as it satisfies the heap invariant that all the child nodes must be greater than or equal to or smaller than or equal to its parent node. Now, this is the last structure that we are going to check if it is a valid heap or not. What you guys think? Is this a valid heap? Well, I think it's pretty clear that this is not a valid heap, but it can be converted into a heap by making a one small change. Now, if we make 6 as our root node, then this structure will get converted into a max heap, which is absolutely a valid heap. I hope you all are clear with the heap invariant and how to judge if a given tree is a valid heap or not. Now moving ahead, we'll discuss the different types of priority queue. Basically, there are two types of priority queue based on the priority of elements. If the element with smallest value has highest priority, then that priority queue is called as min priority queue. And if element with higher value has the highest priority, then that priority queue is known as max priority queue. Furthermore, it's vividly clear that the min priority queue can be implemented with a minimum heap, where the max priority queue can be implemented using maximum heap. Moving ahead, we'll deal with the operations in priority queue considering the heap as implementation strategy. The common operations that we can perform on priority queue are insertion, deletion, and peak. But there is one more hidden additional operation that gets performed during these operations. That operation is called as heapify. Heapify manages the priority of data elements in a heap by shuffling the data elements after new insertion or deletion. First of all, we will understand how insertion in priority queue happens with the help of an example. In this example, we are inserting a new data element that is 43. But due to this insertion, the structure disobeys the priority queue invariant that the parent node of the max priority queue must be greater than its child node. Now, the heapify operation solves this problem by rearranging data elements by carrying out the comparison. In this particular case, 43 becomes the parent node where 40 becomes the child node. The next up is deletion. As we know, the highest priority element will be the first to leave the priority queue, and further, it is stored at the root node of a max heap. So definitely, the element present at the root node will get removed. But due to this operation, the order of priority queue gets affected. However, the heapify operation comes to the rescue. It reshuffles the elements of the priority queue to rearrange them in order. The next operation that we are going to discover is peak. The peak operation simply returns the element present at root node without removing it, and it is easily accessible. Thus, the time complexity of this operation is big of 1. I hope you all are clear with the operations that can be performed on priority queue. Moving forward, we'll try to implement them with the help of minimum heap. As discussed earlier, while implementing a heap data structure, we know that all the elements will get stored in an array, and we don't have any pointers pointing to either child or parent nodes. So how exactly does the heap data structure remember nodes like parent nodes and its left or right nodes? Well, if you have learned binary trees, then you must know the formulas present on your screen. These formulas determines the left child, right child, or even the parent node of any binary tree. Let's understand how this phenomenon works with the help of an example. We'll begin with index 0. If we enter 0 in this arithmetic expression, then we will get 1 and 2 as output. That means the element at index 1 will be the left child and element at index 2 will be the right child, and tree structure will look like this. Now, moving ahead, let's take an example of index 1. For index 1, the left child will be at index 3 and the right child will be at index 4. Similarly, for index 2, the left child will be at index 5, where the right child will be at index 6. Using these formulas, we'll be implementing heapify and primary queue operations. So note them down for further reference. Now moving further, we will visit code editor to implement priority queue data structure using C programming language. Previously, I mentioned that heap is implemented using arrays. So, to begin with heap implementation, primarily we will create a structure consisting of different variables or objects needed to implement heap data structure. So, let's create a structure. Struct heap consist int size, int count variable, and int star heap array, which is a dynamic array that we are creating here. And next we'll also declare a pointer to heap structure along with size and count variable in a global scope. So let's do that. Int star heap comma size comma count. We'll create one more variable int initial underscore size to represent the initial size of our priority queue, and let's assign it value 4 for now. Okay. Now it's time to allocate memory to our heap array. For this purpose, we'll create a new function called heap underscore init. So let's create this function void heap underscore init, and inside it we'll pass an argument struct heap star h, which is a reference of this structure that we created previously. Okay. In this function, let's initialize the variables that we have created inside this heap structure. So for that, we'll initialize h arrow operator count is equal to 0. Similarly, h arrow operator size is equal to initial underscore size, and h array is equal to int star malloc size of int star 4. This statement is just allocating 4 integer variables to our heap array. Basically, our heap array is dynamic data structure. That's why we have to provide it with dynamic memory using malloc. If you are using C++ programming language to implement this data structure, then you can use new instead of malloc. Moving forward, now we'll work on our condition if not h arrow operator allocates memory to heap array, then printf error while allocating the memory, and that /n. Next we'll write exit command. Okay, with this we have successfully implemented our heap init function. Now moving ahead, let's implement heapify function to move the nodes. For that, we'll create a heapify function void max underscore heapify int star data int log int count. So all these are required variables to implement this heapify function that we have passed in argument for this max heapify function. Now let's create few more variables that we need. Int left comma right comma largest comma temp. Now, as discussed earlier, left will be equal to 2 star location in array plus 1, and right will be equal to left plus 1. Now let's say largest is equal to LOC, and we'll work on conditions now. If left is greater than or equal to count, and data left is greater than data largest, that is the location we have stored in largest variable, then largest is equal to left. With this block, what we are doing is we are checking if the element at location left is greater than the element at recent position, and the value at left is also greater than the value of recent location. If these conditions are true, then we will set the recent location as left. And here we are getting signal that there is semicolon missing over here, so we'll add it. Okay, now let's work on next condition. Now we will check the value at right position. If the recent location is greater than the right and the value at right is greater than the largest value, then element at largest will be set to right. So for that, we'll write condition if right is greater count and data right is greater than data largest, then largest is equal to right. Otherwise, if largest is not equal to location, then we will store the data present at location in temporary variable, and data LOC is equal to data largest. This is a swapping operation that we are carrying out here. And next, data largest is equal to 10. And now we'll make recursive call to our heapify function max underscore heapify data comma largest comma count. With this, we have successfully completed our heapify function. Now we will work on insertion operation on priority queue. Let's call this function heap underscore push, because we are treating this structure as heap, right? So in heap, insertion is called as push operation. So we'll call it void heap underscore push, and we'll pass arguments struct heap star h int value, and inside this function we'll create few more variables, int index and parent. If you guys remember, the initial size that we have allocated to our array is 16 bytes. You can verify with this statement here that we are providing 16 byte size to our heap array. But what if you want to insert elements more than 4? Then what we'll do? Well, for that, we'll need to increase the size of our heap array. So we'll do that here. For this resize, we'll create if condition, if h dot count is equal to h dot size, then h dot size plus equal to 1, and h dot heap array is equal to realloc h dot heap array size of int star h dot size. Basically, we are using realloc function in C to extend the dynamic memory space for our heap array. And in order to increase the size, we have to increment the size variable first. So that's what we have done in this statement here. And now, once done with this, we'll check if our dynamic memory is getting allocated or not. So for that, we'll add one more if condition inside this if block. So it can be called as nested if you guys want. Dot heap array, then exit -1. Now we'll move out of this if block and we will set index variable to h dot count plus plus. Basically, we are iterating with help of index variable here. So next we'll add for condition, for loop index to index is equal to parent. And inside this condition, we'll make parent node is equal to index -1 by 2. This is nothing but the formula that we have discussed in previous part. Now we'll add one more condition inside this for loop, if h dot heap array parent is greater than or equal to value, then we will break this for loop. Otherwise, h dot heap array index will be equal to h dot heap array parent. Now we'll move outside this for loop and we'll add one more condition of insertion, that is h dot heap array, and at position index we will add the value provided by user using argument to heap push function. Okay, with this we have successfully created our heap push function. Now we'll move towards the next function, that is heap underscore delete. For that we'll create new function heap underscore delete, and let's make this function integer, and we'll pass struct heap star h as an argument. We will create one more variable temp is equal to h arrow operator heap array, and inside this we'll pass a negating index. That means we are using this temporary variable to traverse through all list of elements. So for that we'll write dot dot minus minus h arrow operator count, which will decrease count one by one. Now next we'll add condition f h arrow operator count is greater than or equal to h arrow operator size plus 2 and h arrow operator size is also greater than the initial underscore size. Okay. Then what we will do is we will set size to negate itself by 1 for each iteration, and then we will add h arrow operator heap array is equal to realloc h dot heap array comma size of int star h arrow operator and size size. And semicolon. So basically what we are doing here is we are checking if count is smaller than the size of heap plus 2, and the dynamic size of queue is also larger than initialized size, that is 4, then what we are doing is we are reducing the size for deleting an element using this statement, and in next statement we are reallocating that deleted space. So this is how this if block works. Now moving forward, we'll add a condition to check if memory is getting reallocated or not. For that we'll write condition if not h arrow operator heap array, then what we'll do is exit with -1. Okay, now let's move out of this if block, and now we will set this removed variable to h arrow operator heap array and index 0. So if you guys remember, 0 is the index of the highest element in our maximum heap. What I mean here is the element with highest value is stored at index 0 for max heap. Now moving forward, to delete this element, what we'll do is we will set h dot heap array and index 0 is equal to temporary variable or pointer that we have created previously, and next what we'll do is we'll call max underscore heapify function to rearrange the structure of our priority queue which has been shuffled due to this delete operation. Now for that we'll pass arguments our heap structure, that is heap array, and next the index which was removed and the count variable, and we'll return the removed element. Okay, with this we have successfully implemented our delete function. Now to understand the order of deletion in priority queue, we will implement one more function called as mtpq. So let's create this function, and in this function we'll pass the reference of heap structure in order to operate on it. So let's pass the structure heap star h, and inside this function we will create a while loop h dot count is not equal to 0, then printf modulus d and recursive call to heap delete function in which we'll pass h. Now we are done with this mtpq function. Further, we'll create one more function to visualize our priority queue. Let's call this function void heap underscore display, and inside this we'll pass structure heap star h, and now we will create one iterator element, and using that iterator element we'll create for loop I is equal to 0 to I is greater than arrow operator count plus plus I, and inside this for loop we will print the elements present in our queue using this format, modulus d, and we'll call heap array. But for that we'll need to call structure as well. Heap array, and we'll pass this iterator variable into it. Okay, and then next we'll get outside this for loop and we'll printf this to the next line using /n. Okay, now we have implemented all the required function for our priority queue. Moving forward, we'll work on our driver function, that is main method, to contemplate the result of our program. So for that, we'll first call struct heap h, then we'll call init function to create heap structure. So heap init, and we'll pass the address of h. Next, we will call heap underscore push function to insert element, and h comma 1. Next, I'll copy this part, we'll paste it to insert another element. Now we'll insert 5 here. Next, paste, and we'll pass 3. Next, we'll insert element 7. Next, we'll insert element 9, and after this we'll insert element 8. Okay, so now let's display the elements inside our heap using heap underscore display function, and let's pass and h object to print it, and again we'll call empty pq function, empty pq, and we'll pass h, and after deleting all elements it will return the state of our heap array again, or our priority queue. So finally we'll add return 0 statement, and now our code is ready. So let's compile it and check it if it works fine or not. So we are getting 4 errors here, guys, so we'll need to resolve them. First we'll need to check line number 82. So for 82, okay, here we haven't added semicolon, so I think this should be fine now. Still we have 2 errors. Before I reach there, so let's recompile it and check it if it is working fine now. So we have received our output now. Now if you look at our output is printing elements 9, 7, 8, 1, 5 and 3. And deletion of elements is also happening according to their order. So 9 is getting deleted first, after 8, 7, 5, 3 and 1. So that means our elements are getting removed in proper order. Further, we can say that our program for priority queue implementation works fine. Now, If you guys are worried about this program, then not to worry. We have you covered. You can mention your email IDs in comment box below and we will send it over to you. Remember guys, we can make comments private to protect all your data. So you can fearlessly put all your email IDs in comment box below. Now we will discuss applications of priority queue to understand its importance. The first application that we are going to discuss is use of priority queue in Google Maps. You must have used Google Maps several times to navigate from one city to another or from your location to nearest desired location. Have you ever wondered how Google Maps managed to do that? How does it provide an optimal path to reach your location? Well, Dijkstra's shortest path algorithm implemented in Google Maps actually manages to do that by gaining access to all possible paths. This algorithm uses the priority queue to maintain all the paths in order. Let's understand how it works in detail. Now, when you provide the location of place you want to reach via your mobile device, Google Maps feeds the data of all possible paths to Dijkstra's algorithm. Those paths or road are stored in minimum priority queue considering the distance as parameter for priority assignment. And we have learned that the minimum priority queue maintains the lowest value at the front or root node. This is how the priority queue helps Google Map to search for an ideal path for reaching destination location. The next application that we are going to discuss is data compression in WinZip or gzip. These applications use Huffman encoding algorithm to reduce the size of files. Huffman coding is a lossless data compression algorithm, and in this algorithm, a variable length code is assigned to input different characters. The code length is related to how frequent characters are used. Most recurring characters have the smallest codes, and longer codes are for the least frequent characters. This is how the generated codes will maintain the complete data while utilizing less memory space. Let's understand how this process works with the help of an example. Let's say our text file contains these random characters. The Huffman encoding algorithm creates codes for each character based on its number of occurrences. For instance, the frequency of character A is more prominent than B, and character C has less frequency. So the length of code A is smaller than B, and length of code B will be smaller than C. Now, according to the amount of generated code, the priority queue will determine the priority of characters and will store them. These codes takes less size than the actual characters in memory space, and due to the mapping of occurrences, data does not get lost. I hope now you guys understand why the priority queue is treated as an abstract data structure itself and why it is the better version of queue data structure. So, with this understanding, we came to the end of this video. I hope this video was informative and exciting. If you have any queries regarding the priority queue in data structure, then let us know in comment section below. Our 24/7 team of experts will be happy to resolve all your queries. Thank you so much for watching this video and please keep tuned to Simply Learn for such technical videos.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simply Learn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.